The cloud. Good day, everybody. Hey, if you're watching this now, the reason you're watching this now, frankly, is because Facebook wouldn't let us go live. But you know what? We love technology, good and bad. We love it. So, hey, everybody, good morning, good afternoon, no matter where you are. And I want to welcome you today to the All-In Videocast. I don't know about you, man, but I've had so much fun with these. And if you understand why I'm doing this, you know that probably, I guess, a couple months ago, I just got this conviction. You know, I'm a man of faith, and I try to listen to those convictions. And in the conviction, it was that there are certain people that might not be super famous in the world or worldwide influencers that can influence you and I on a daily basis. And what I did the first week is invite my buddy Scott, who's a pastor in Houston, and then I invited a Celebrate Recovery buddy of mine that's really helped me in my recovery over the years. And then I invited Greg and Julie Gorman, who have a mission called Married for a Purpose, and we talked about marriage and how to be great in marriage. And then we talked to a friend of mine who happens to also be my brother, who's a financial advisor. Then we talked to a woman who's extremely powerful in commercial real estate, really solid in her faith. She's learned how to negotiate the testosterone-filled world of commercial real estate. And then we also talked to Mike Lunar, who's a GM partner at a dealership group in Mid-America. And last week, as you know, it was, I don't know if any of them are better than the others, but last week was Eustace Mita, the CEO of the Icona Hotels, buddy of mine, mentor, powerful speaker, trainer, and coach, and a man of faith. And it was so fun having him with us last week. So we so enjoyed that. Now, where we are today, though, is I got to tell you, I go down my list of people and I think, who do I have that I can really lend impact to the group? As I try to go live on Facebook here right now, I just want to tell you about my friend Charlie. Charlie Cina is a super influencer. As a matter of fact, Charlie it captivates, and that's a great way to put it, because he captivates his audiences, and he's a teacher. And he's learned how to master the mindset of his people, help them master their mindset, and help them be great leaders and entrepreneurs. He's a speaker, he's a trainer, he's a life coach, entrepreneurial coach, business coach, family coach. I mean, this guy is all that. He's got a great marriage, great family, and a great business. And I'm just really jacked up to introduce you to my good friend, Charlie Cina. What's up, Charlie? Welcome, buddy.
What's happening? How's everything?
Yeah, everything's good, man. This is my favorite day of the week because every day at 11:30, I meet with somebody. And then at 5:30, I do a mastermind group. And this group is on communication. There's about 17 of us from all walks of life. So I really love Thursdays because it's just a great way to start the weekend and a great way to just connect with some people. So Charlie, welcome, bro. And again, thank you for being so patient. But let's talk about who you are, man. You've had this success writing books and speaking side by side with some of the most powerful speakers in the world. And you're great in your marriage and you've got wonderful kids. Talk to me about what's your journey and let people know who you are and what your journey is, bro.
Well, I mean, I grew up in Buffalo, New York. You know, mom, dad, sister. And I guess you could say I had some entrepreneurial influence. My dad didn't graduate high school, but, you know, was a consummate entrepreneur and sales professional. And he kind of taught me I don't like using the word, hustle, because it has a negative connotation, but, growing up as a 70s kid, that was it. My dad was always out there looking for opportunities, meeting and greeting people, building relationships. And, had some very successful small businesses and had a lot of business contacts that help him leverage those businesses. So that's how I grew up. And one of my first entrepreneurial ventures was acquiring a paper route in Buffalo and learning how to, knock doors and build the distribution of that paper. I learned at an early age that, the more you introduce, the more you produce, right? So when I got the paper out, maybe I had 30, 40 subscribers, and, my objective was wanting to get more. Why? Because the more papers I dropped off, the more money I made. And then when I would go to collect every week back then, you went old school. You knocked down the door and you said, hey, it's $1.25 a week, and they'd give you $2, you get a 75-cent tip. So that's how I started my journey. And I learned a lot about, the numbers game, right? The more doors you knock, the more chances you have of being successful. The better you present your offer and you smile and you make eye contact, the more conversions you get. And then ultimately, the more customers I had, the more envelopes I'd get at Christmas as a Christmas bonus. So it sounds basic, but it taught me a ton, Bart. And from there, I had always just been, very aggressive in young entrepreneurial ventures, shoveling driveways, and then got a snowblower for Christmas, and, could do them faster. And really that's how I came up as a kid and teenager and started my entrepreneurial journey.
So you've been married how long?
20 years together, 25.
And I always like to bring that up because obviously there's some folks in the room, such as myself, that have been married more than once. And I'm just so blessed now that I've got just an incredible relationship. But what you and I know is that partner next to us is a big part of our growth. So tell us a little bit about your family. Tell us about how that has gotten you from where you were to where you are now.
Well, I think, I grew up, again, my dad was an entrepreneur, but I watched my dad go from zero to hero, and then I watched him lose everything. So at 12, 13, divorce came into the lives of my sister and I, and the family, became strained. The relationships became strained, and you watch the family dynamic go bye-bye. So that affected me. And we went from, having everything as a family, and watching my dad lose his businesses and his investments was the key strain, I think, or one of the symptoms to the marriage, ending in divorce. And that at a young age, I developed, a fear of failing from a standpoint financially, right? So I always had a fear that I wouldn't make enough money, or I wouldn't be able to, pay my way through school or what have you. So I always was very aggressive in going out and working because I never wanted to have that happen to me as an adult. So when I met my wife, I met my wife at 29. She was much younger than me. She was 19, and we met by accident and never really, thought of dating someone that much younger than me. But long story short, 25 years later, we're together. And I think one of the things for me was, I knew I didn't want to come to get into a marriage and have it end up in divorce, number one. Two, I wanted to make sure as our relationship grew that our business goals equaled our personal goals, and our personal goals equaled our business goals. One of my mentors told me that. So there was always clarity on what our goals were, right? Our business goals matched, our personal goals matched. We knew that, she wanted to raise the kids, and I was going to do everything in my power to, make that happen from a financial standpoint. So that's how we based our relationship, right? And we were friends first and foremost, and that carries you through a lot of, the ups and downs that life brings you. But, fortunately for us, we've, been able to raise two healthy, smart, great, beautiful kids. My son's 19, or he's going to be 19 at the end of this month. Got laid off during COVID. Finally, just got another job, and he's in school, and he's taken his real estate exam here shortly. He wants to pursue, real estate as well as a profession. My daughter is a junior and she's at the top of her class, and I don't know, 4.23 GPA or something crazy. She doesn't get that from me, so everyone likes to brag about their kids, but she did not get that from me. And my wife even goes, I don't know where she got it from, but just very driven. So, through all the ups and downs of life, we keep the family unit together the best we know how, and we've been very, very blessed and very fortunate.
Tell us about some of the greatest lessons through your experiences, through what your pops went through, and seeing that, and then the growing up in a tough in Buffalo. Correct? Is that where you grew up?
Yeah. So I mean, Buffalo. The weather is brutal. You get some great days during the summer, but there's a window there of maybe 3-4 months if you're lucky, and you get some sunshine and some nice days. But yeah, the winters were brutal. But looking back, I don't think I would have wanted to be raised anywhere else. I don't think my kids growing up have had the same experience that I did. And living in Vegas, I used to think it was a Vegas thing, but when I go back east and I talk to, some of my friends, things might be, what word am I looking for? A little better as far as, being outdoors and playing sports, and there may be some more community back east for obvious reasons, right? There's older neighborhoods, there's more people that were born and raised there, and tighter connections to family versus people that, moved out to Vegas years back. But all that being said, I think the whole dynamic of growing up is different with technology, right? We always used to be outside. We used to entertain ourselves, by, playing kickball or creating games that didn't even exist, right? Going to the park, getting a tackle football game going, but all that seems to be different with technology. But all that being said, to answer your question, growing up back there, I wouldn't have changed it, and it definitely helped build a lot of character, and allowed me to come out to a city 34 years ago, with nothing, right? I think I had like $800, a car, and came out here to finish school, and here I sit. So Buffalo taught me a lot, and I think again, coming from a divorced family and watching my dad make it and lose it, although that instilled in me some fears. That fear is what drove me, but fears can also, that past life, if you don't shake it off, could also hinder you, create some self-limiting beliefs, and then allow you to create glass ceilings that you don't know how to break through. So as you get older, you start to recognize these things and then break through. But to your point, I think you used the word journey at some point in your opening, and that's what it is, right? It's definitely a journey, but I'm looking to hit some benchmarks and goals along the way and make it happen.
So talk to us about some of those, we talked a little bit about failures. I know for me, get this, I always wanted to play basketball, right? And I tried out for the basketball team in 7th grade. If any of my Perrysburg, Ohio buddies are watching this, they're shaking their head going, yeah, that's right. Tried out in 7th grade, 8th grade, didn't make it, by the way, both of those. 9th grade didn't make it, 10th grade didn't make it, 11th grade didn't make it. And my senior year, I said, forget it, I suck at basketball. But one year, my parents sent me to basketball camp twice because they were tired of hearing me come home and just be devastated not making it. But, those things, it's like the perfect example of just getting my butt kicked at that in terms of who I believed I was and the whole bit, and not following the dream. And I will tell you, I've looked back on that and said, man, that really drove me. But on the other hand, there's that I look at that and say, no, that didn't drive me. There's been times when I've not gone to 12th grade because I didn't make it. And now I'm all about, dude, I ain't giving up. You and I talk a lot. I'm not giving up. I've got my business goals on my board. Tell us what those failures are for you that got you from here to there, because you've got a budding, big speaking business that took a hit, right?
Well, so, yeah, I was actually, when you say big, I mean, I want to be transparent. I was literally, just starting to get booked consistently, had some of my own events going. And I was coming out of, what do they call it? The infancy stages, just the hockey stick curve was starting to go up.
Right.
And yeah, took a hit, right? Like every speaker out there right now, like I have a lot of clients that are speakers and trainers, and
Yes, you do.
so everyone shifted, right? A lot of people went to doing online webinars or creating online training platforms. And again, that's my business, right? One of the things I do is I empower speakers, trainers, and subject matter experts to monetize their content online by creating these, cool, cutting-edge virtual interactive training platforms, of which you have one as well. So that's how we met, right? You became my client, and we built a friendship. But
Dude, wouldn't give up either. I'm just telling you, for those of you who want to be in sales, Charlie's a good mentor. He would not give up. And you know what's so cool about that? Now we're brothers, right? We're good friends. I've hired Charlie as a coach. He's not just he didn't just sell me something. He is my brother. He's helping me along the path of the business. So keep going. Sorry, but
yeah. So that being said, to answer your question, what are your failures? I mean, I think we, in some way, shape, or form, you fail every day and you succeed every day, right? Well, how do you fail? Well, maybe you didn't work out and you were supposed to, right? So to me, that's a form of failure, because if you do it one day, okay, you failed, you didn't work out. But if you do it the next day, now you're potentially drifting, and that can lead to the third day, and now you're off path. So to answer your question, I don't know. When you say what's my biggest failure, I think my biggest failure has been having self-limiting beliefs, and I believe we all have our own form of self-limiting beliefs based upon how we brought up, past failures, tragedies, negative circumstances or relationships, and you let those harbor or become part of your life. So you're living your future and your past life. And what I'm now trying to do is live in the present future, taking all the attributes that I have, all the lessons that I've learned, want to live in the present, but looking forward at the end game. And it's easier for me said than done. But that's what I'm working on. So I don't, I can't say that I've had one failure that's been so, devastating or heartbreaking, but, with every failure, not to use cliche stuff, but, one door closes, another one opens. I was in a relationship, great girl, should have married her. My family loved her. I didn't, right? Didn't do it. Did I fail at the time? Maybe I thought I was doing the wrong thing, and then I met my wife, 25 years, I wouldn't change it for the world. Great mother, my friend, my rock, and she believes in me most times more than I believe in myself. So
wow.
I just think that's life. I asked my dad one time, Bart, I said, Dad, what's life? He said, it's a magazine. I said, how much does it cost? He said, $0.25. I said, I only got a dime. He said, that's tough. I said, what's tough? He said, life. What's life? A magazine. So some of your audience won't be able to relate to that, but remember Life magazine?
Yeah.
But my point is, we're just going round and around the mulberry bush here. Nothing, nothing you teach or I teach or, people that came before us, as far as, the lessons of life, nothing's really new, right? It's all in the good book. And you just have to go out there, educate yourself so you can elevate yourself and implement. You have to take action. That's key.
Okay, so who's your greatest mentor? And we're going to talk about that action thing in a minute, but if you think about it, maybe it probably wasn't just one, but who are the people that influenced you in doing what you're doing?
I mean, I think a great mentor is anybody that has helped you shape your life, right? Solve a problem, relieve a pain point, give you some objective and clarity or self-confidence in order for you to, to hit a goal, right? And strive to attain greatness in some way, shape, or form. So, looking back, I've had great mentors when I was a kid. My neighbor down the street, Lynn Gauthier, wasn't really that close with her, was driving, walking by our house one day, heard my mother reprimanding me for not knowing my multiplication tables, right? My mom used to try to help me. I was terrible. She walks in and says, "Hey, what's going on?"
Wait, she walked in? That's definitely Becky.
Yeah, that's it. The screen door was open. She knocked and walked in. That's when, you didn't hide when the doorbell rang. But she came in and said, everyone called me Charles growing up, my family and friends. You know what, Charles, be at my house tomorrow after school at 3:00. And she mentored me, right? So looking back, and I really never think about this, but she was a mentor, right? She taught me my multiplication table so I can do division, which even today, doing business, playing the stock, right? It's something that you use through your entire life every day, made a difference in my life. My grandfather, was a big mentor to me in business. My dad. And then as I came up and I started to study, get in business and sales and study self-help, Zig Ziglar was a mentor. So I read all of his books. I went to his live programs. I studied with, the VHS tapes back in the day. Tom Hopkins, who now walks through my office because he's a Lightspeed VT client, the online training platform I represent. So I've had a lot of mentors, and I think mentors come in all different, shapes, sizes, ethnicities, mindsets, knowledge bases, and they show up in your life when you're looking to solve some type of a problem or reach an objective, and I believe they show up when you're ready to receive them.
It's funny. An atheist is an atheist until they have a problem and have to get on their knees, right?
There you go. Yeah.
So it's funny where we don't sometimes, though, a lot of people don't know who they're screaming to, but they need help somewhere. So a couple of questions. These are big ones. But I want to get to all these. So talk to a little bit about how faith has gotten you where you are right now. How's that helped you get through the storms and have this success?
Yeah. Well, I was always brought up with faith. I was brought up Catholic, and then, married Catholic, didn't practice heavily, once I became a teenager, but, now non-denominational Christian. So is my wife. We pray every day as a family before dinner. Even, when the kids were little. Now everyone goes to bed at a different time, but, probably up until sophomore year, even for my son, when everyone was on the same schedule, we would pray before we all went to bed at night as a family. So in that regard, we're definitely a spiritual family and believe in our higher power. But I also believe as I get older that the Lord helps those that help themselves.
Amen. Got to move the feet, right?
So not to get too spiritual, because I'm not that educated to talk on that level. But what I'm learning is, the higher power that's out there, as you seek knowledge to live your life, and you overcome, all of those obstacles, and you try to leave the past behind and try to live in that present future. What I'm seeing or experiencing myself is your faith tends to go up.
Yeah.
Right. Because your faith is your belief system. Well, what's belief? It's confidence. It's certainty. Right. And when you have those things, I believe those characteristics are characteristics of faith and represent your belief in the higher power.
And success, right? Because of those, you're successful.
Yeah.
I love I love what John Maxwell says. He said they interviewed him once and they said, "Do you pray before you speak?" Now here's a pastor, right? And he said, "I do, but I actually really pray after I've done all I can do to get to the point where I speak, right? Where I moved my feet and then I say, okay, God, I've done my part and now I need you." When we hit that wall and it's like, come on.
Right.
And so, yeah, good stuff. Thanks for sharing that. You've written a book. Tell me a little bit, and we got a little time issue here, but we did start a shade late. So you okay for a minute, for like 5? Or
Sure.
okay.
Yep.
So let me ask you a question. Talk to the people watching this. A lot of them are John Maxwell team members. There's a lot of entrepreneurs watching this. Maybe somebody who maybe wants to quit a job and be an entrepreneur or a writer. Tell us a little bit about that journey to write that book. And then I want you to tell us about some of those people that are your clients, if you can name drop a little bit. But tell us about the book.
Well, what prompted me to write the book is one of my best friends who was about 16, 17 years older than me, but I met him when I was 20, 21 years old. I think he was 34, 35 at the time. But, great relationship, street guy, kind of, not even a high school education, but, moved out to California, started a business, very successful, had, celebrity clients. And when he died, it affected me because I had never really at that point in my life, this is 3 years ago now, lost a friend that I was really that close to. So I started really to write the book because as I reflected, getting back to the mentor question, I'm like, wow, he really taught me a lot. And I don't want to say that we ever sat down and I said, you're my mentor or vice versa, right? We just had a relationship. I just realized that I learned so much. So I started writing the book. What did I do? I get in front of my computer and I, start hitting the keys, telling my story. So how did I write the book? I just started writing the book by taking action. Did I know what I was doing? No, right? I had a story. What was my story? Well, I started it from, when I moved to Vegas in 1986 and wanted to pay tribute to my family and to my friend that passed and talked about when I met him. And then I just started writing about things in my life that I do that allowed me to activate, acquire, and achieve a level of success.
Love that.
Now, that being said, one of the things I do in business is ask people their names, right? That's $1 million question. Hi, my name's Charlie. What's your name? People don't do it. So I just started this whole process of writing the book, and that was going to be my title. Hi, what's your name? And then one day, a guy showed up at my office because he saw me on a Facebook Live talking how I acquired John Taffer as a client. John Taffer, the show Bar Rescue?
Yes.
I just went and knocked on his door, right? Cold called him. He's got an office here in Vegas. The receptionist was at the front desk. She said, do you have an appointment? I said, no, I don't, but I need to see John. And she said, pardon me, what's it about? I said, well, I empower speakers, trainers, and subject matter experts to monetize their content online, worldwide, and I need to talk to John about a potential, joint venture where we can potentially make 6-7 figures in the next 18 months, right? So I had my power presentation down, right? So what I wanted to do when I wrote this book is simply teach people the art of presentation and the art of positioning yourself where you become the only logical choice in your space. And how do you start it at hello? So going back, this guy shows up at my office, introduces himself, says he saw my Facebook Live talking about how I met John Taffer and closed him as a client. And then I started mentoring this young gentleman, 21 at the time. I didn't know I was mentoring. I'm like, he's just calling me saying, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Then he decided he was going to have an event in LA, a sales event, and he asked me to speak. And I said, what do you want me to speak on? And he said, well, can't you tell your story about how you acquired John Taffer and people like Tony Robbins and Les Brown and right, all these people I've acquired as clients by just picking up the phone or knocking on a door or showing up at an event and shaking their hand. And I said, well, yeah, I guess I can do that. And as we talked, at that point, I was in the process of writing my book called Hi, What's Your Name? And he said, how do you do it? And I said, how do I do what? He goes, how do you acquire all these high-level clients? And I looked at him and I said, well, brother, I just expose and close. And he goes, you just expose and close? He goes, I like that. So you have an expose and close marketing system. And I looked at him and I'm like, ding. I'm like, yeah, I do. And I went and I bought the domain name Expose and Close, and I changed the name of my book to Expose and Close. And now I've, pre-COVID, I mean, I was speaking at events, teaching people essentially how to expose and close. How do you present and position yourself so you can profit in your space? So that's how the book came to be. And anybody out there that, that wants to write a book, sit down, clear your head, and just start telling your story and write like you talk. And before you know it, your book will be done.
That's cool. I'm writing a book, as you know, and I'm recording into it. And then I've got somebody typing it all up because I don't like to do that. So I'll take my walks on my golf course and get a chapter done. So it's, good.
Perfect.
You bet. Yeah. Right. I mean, just do it. Right. I asked John one day, John, how do you write a book? He says, take a pen, take paper, and start writing. I said, no. There's got to be more than that. No, there isn't. Take a pen.
Well, you and I talked about that.
Yeah.
You and I talked about that one day, and you said, because that's what I did for the first 6 or 7 chapters. I sat and I started writing, and then I grabbed my phone, to your point. I go to notes and I just talk to text, sent it to a Word doc, and then cleaned it up and hired somebody to formally edit it. But that's the best process.
Yeah, and that's a game changer. When I can say Charlie Cina, author, an entrepreneurial coach, speaker, I mean, it certainly sounds good, doesn't it? And it's obvious that you've had a lot of success because of your mindset and helping others change theirs. You mentioned Les Brown, Tony Robbins. You want to name drop a couple other clients before we leave, and you tell a little bit about.
Yeah, I mean, again, John Taffer from Bar Rescue, the guy from the show Cake Boss, Buddy Valastro. Did you ever see that show?
Yes.
I cold called him. This is probably going back 4 or 5 years now, but I cold called him on the phone, reached his director of internet marketing, and 2 weeks later was on a plane and cut a deal with him. So, what I teach people is really 3 things, right? How do you present and position so you profit? How do you present yourself in a way that's unforgettable at the first point of contact? How do you position yourself where you become the only logical choice in your space? And then how do you profit by acquiring high-level clients? And then how do you nurture those clients to get repeat and referral business long-term? So those are the 3 things that I teach. And then I really drill down to the art of presentation from the standpoint of connecting. So when you connect with somebody, right, how do you connect? What words do you use, right? When you connect, whether it's online or offline, it's all done through words, because words trigger pictures, which trigger emotions, which lead to people taking action steps. So you have to connect, right? And properly convey your message. Who are you? What do you do? What problem do you help people solve, right? So you connect and you convey. Then when you can do that and you can help people connect the dots, right, through the words that you use and the experience that you take them through, you'll convert them as a client, and you'll convert them as a high-level client that, you have a better chance of retaining long-term than not. And when did you start developing that relationship? Well, you should start developing that relationship at the word hello. And that's what I teach and preach. When you say hello to somebody, you're on stage, it starts.
Yeah. And you've said it last week. People love to hear the sound of their name, don't they? I mean, Zig said that years ago, and you're the epitome of this too, Charlie. You can get anything you want if you help enough people get what they want. It's my favorite quote on the planet.
No question.
Zig Ziglar. And I really want to thank you, man, because you're just, you've been my coach, you've been my friend, and those nuggets that I wish this could last 2 hours, but those nuggets are powerful. So if somebody wants to reach out to you, look at and see about maybe booking you or talking to you as a coach, how do they get a hold of you? I've got your website up on the screen, but tell us a little bit about how they can reach out to Charlie.
Yeah, so my main website is charliecina.com. The last name is Cina, CHARLIE, CINA.com, charliecina.com. And then I have an online program specific to my whole Expose and Close program. And that website is exposeandclose.com, just like it sounds,
Yeah.
exposeandclose.com. And I've got a program on there that really takes you through some simple techniques and strategies that are very easy to implement. I really wrote it, whether you're a professional salesperson or you don't want to sell or you don't like to sell, but know that you need some soft skills in order to, present and persuade people. That's why I wrote it, and they're just very simple, implementable skills, but if you implement them, you're going to get results.
Right on. Good job. So those two places, we appreciate you so much. Really do, man. Thanks for your time. Time's valuable. And I know you've changed some people's lives today, so I thank you for that. For those of you watching this, we will be going live every week when Facebook allows us to. For some reason today it didn't click on live, but as soon as I'm done with this, I'll get the recording probably about 10 minutes after this, and then I'll start working to get it posted on Facebook. So by the time you watch this, folks, you will have not known that we had any hiccups, and you'll be able to watch it. But I really take notes, really listen to the meat and potatoes, and reach out to Charlie. He's a good man. It's a good, he's got so many connections, and it'll help you get from here to there. So thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you. We'll talk
All right.
soon. All right.
All right. Talk to you, everybody. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.